What is up, you guys? It is Mike here, and in today's video I'm gonna be discussing with you guys the new world premiere cards that were just recently announced a couple of days ago for the 2020 Tin of Lost Memories, or as we call it, the 2020 Mega Tins. And yeah, guys, I'm sorry I'm a little bit late to the news. I would have recorded this a couple of days ago, but I was busy with work and I didn't get time to just review it for you guys. But now that it's my day off today, I decided to just go ahead and discuss with you guys what I think about these cards and how I think they're gonna change the way, not how I think they're gonna impact the Dark Magician Blue Eyes deck, because that's basically what all these cards are, just Dark Magician Blue Eyes support, except of course with the exception of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. But yeah, guys, before we get into the video, if you guys do enjoy it, definitely give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends so that they'll be updated on the news as well. And definitely let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this and if you want me to do more videos like this. And I'm not gonna waste your time, let's just go ahead and get into it. So yeah, guys, as you guys can probably see here, Konami just actually revealed these cards in a video up on their YouTube channel, which I will leave a link to in the description below if you want to check it out yourself, because the voice of Yamiyuki was there, and he's the one who announced all these cards, which I think was pretty cool. But regardless of that, these are the 4 cards that they announced in that video. Obviously, we already knew that Red Eyes Dark Dragoon was gonna be coming in these tins way before this video even came out, so we already got confirmation on that. And I'm probably gonna do a separate video on this card and discuss to you guys what I think about it and everything. But just know for now that this card is just broken. It can be splashed everywhere, and it's just one of the most impressive cards that I've ever to have come out in 2020 in general. But yeah, besides this card, they actually have already released also 3 different other cards for the tins, which surprisingly are not going to be promos unlike last year, and are just going to be included in the set itself, which I find a bit peculiar considering what these are, considering how they did things last year. So unlike last year, wherein we got some of the most meta-defying cards to have ever impacted the competitive Yu-Gi-Oh scene, with cards like Dark Ruler No More, Nibiru the Primal Being, and Dimension Shifter, these 3 cards are nothing like that. These are all just cards based around Blue Eyes, White Dragon, and Dark Magician. And some people like it, some people hate it, but I'm just kind of in the middle right now. I don't really know how I feel about it, but regardless, I do enjoy the fact that Blue Eyes and Dark Magician are still here getting all the support that they have gotten throughout the years. And I'm just here to discuss with you guys about the cards themselves. So as you can see here, there are 2 spell cards that they announced and 1 trap card. And the first spell that we're going to be talking about here is going to be Successor Soul. And before I get into the fact, may I just say this artwork just looks really badass, and I don't think anyone has ever looked to appreciate the fact that Obelisk is just here in the background, just chilling, looking like he's about to just pop out of nowhere and destroy everything in its path. But yeah, we're not here for that. We're just here to discuss about its effect. So this is Successor Soul. It's a quick play spell, and its effect reads, you contribute 1 effect monster, then target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, that's the cost, send it to the grave, then special summon 1 level 7 or higher normal monster from your hand or deck. And you can only activate 1 Successor Soul per turn, and you can only attack with 1 monster during the turn you activate this card. So as you guys can probably tell, this card is all geared towards trying to remove a threat on your opponent's board by removing cards on monsters on your board that really don't serve much of a purpose, and just crippling their strategy that way. So for its effect, for you to tribute your effect monster, and then target one of their own that they control, I wouldn't say that's bad. That does in a way kind of help with the underlying issue that Dark Magician and Blue Eyes have being that sometimes they have monsters on their field that don't really serve much of a purpose after you use their effect, with a few exceptions, unless you're going for some follow-up plays. An example that I can think of at the top of my head when I read something like this is that in a Dark Magician deck, because to be fair, I'm gonna be looking at these cards from both the perspective of Dark Magician and Blue Eyes. In a Dark Magician deck, wherein you use an effect off of something like a Magician's Rod, for example, to search out one of your Dark Magician spell or traps, this card could potentially help you remove it later on from the board in order to remove an opponent's threat on their side of the field without without needing to what I would say, without needing to destroy it, or get over it in some other ways. And I wouldn't say that's bad. There are some cases where you would kind of want something like Magician's Rod in the grave in order to reoccur it back for you to get more surges on your following turn. And that is not completely bad. The fact that this card also sends your opponent's monster to the grave is also really good, and that's super strong, because you guys know that a lot of monsters nowadays have a really good effects where they can't be targeted or destroyed. So the fact that this sends makes it that good. The only downside that I don't really like about this is that, one, if you're using this during your turn, you can't potentially go for an OTK. However, Konami, well, in the video represented by Yugi, did say you can get over that restriction by just activating this during your opponent's turn, so that you won't have to worry about being locked out of one attack during your opponent's turn, because obviously you can't attack during their turn. But the other effect we're in, it lets you special summon a level 7 or higher normal monster, whether it's Dark Magician or Blue Eyes. Makes it that much better, because in a Dark Magician deck, this can potentially help you have more options with getting something like Dark Magician out of the deck in order to be able to get your disruptions going when you don't have something like Dark Magician in your hand or your grave. So if you have something like Circle, you use this on your rod to special summon Dark Magician, like from your deck, for example. This will help you trigger off Circle a lot more consistently, because by that point you won't even need to rely so much on having Dark Magician in your hand in order to have your disruption going with Circle. And that is cool and all, but the fact that this still has to target in order for this to pop off really well is kind of what's making this card holding it back, I guess, from being super OP and whatever. And the fact that this is not searchable with either Blue Eyes or Dark Magician kind of makes it that much worse. So you have to hard draw it in order to make this worth the wait. So I wouldn't say this is a completely bad card, but it's decent for what it's worth. And that's also including in a Blue Eyes build, wherein it is already hard enough to get something like Blue Eyes on the field, because a majority of the time when you're building a Blue Eyes deck, you would want it in the grave in order to special summon it right from there with other cards that you have, like Return of Dragon Lords, Monster Reborn, and other things. But the fact that this is not searchable and it targets and doesn't really help advance your own place during your turn doesn't really make this card all that worthwhile. So that's kind of how I feel about this spell. And then the next one here is Destined Rivals. So this is a trap card, and it's the only trap card that they revealed. And its effect reads, if you control Blue Eyes White Dragon or Dark Magician, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls until the end of this turn, and you can only activate one Destined Rivals per turn. So in a nutshell, this is kind of like a watered-down version of Skill Drain. However, there are some major differences with Skill Drain and this. With Skill Drain, it's a continuous trap, so it actually lasts for as long as you keep it on the field. And the fact that Skill Drain affects all monsters that your opponent controls and whatever they summon is what makes this super different from it. This only affects monsters that your opponent has on the field. So the fact that this doesn't affect what they summon on the field or what they have in their hand makes it that much less OP. And I don't know why Konami would want to hold back with something like that, um, to make it like, super OP. Like, cause you guys can probably see here with something like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, they are not afraid to make any of their like really big iconic cards super OP and hard to deal with. But the fact that they had to hold this back by only affecting the monsters that your opponent already has in the field is just not good. I but I can't discredit it entirely. The fact that this is searchable in Dark Magician with cards like Circle, Soul Servant, and Magician's Rod is really good. So it helps you ensure that you have a follow-up play with your opponent during their turn. As long as you can make sure that you can get Dark Magician on the field, makes it that good. And I would not discredit it entirely. And in Blue Eyes, it is decent because it is also searchable with cards like Being a Machine Go, but that's not really the most popular option in a Blue Eyes build for you to run something like this, especially considering they already have other cards like the Ultimate Creature of Destruction, where it protects all your Blue Eyes and can reset itself from the grave when you summon a Blue Eyes. But yeah, in a Blue Eyes deck, I don't really see this being the most powerful thing in the world and the most common thing that you would want to run in any kind of build, whether it's a ritual build or just, a pure Blue Eyes build or whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's kind of just how I'm feeling about this card. This is somewhat really decent in our Dark Magician build, and I could kind of see myself playing this in my own build in the future when they just release. But as it stands right now, I wouldn't say this is the most OP card out of the 3 that have been released. But it is decent for what it's worth, and I might consider running this maybe as a 2-up or maybe potentially as a 3-up, depending on how effective I think it will be as the meta progresses. But yeah, that's just kind of how I'm feeling about this card right now. And then the last one we're going to be talking about is a continuous spell called Strength and Unity, and its effect reads: if you ritual or fusion summon using Blue Eyes, White Dragon, or Dark Magician, you could target one card your opponent controls or in their graveyard, banish it. Then you can send this face-up card from the field to the grave that target one level 7 or higher normal monster in your graveyard. That's the cost. Add it to your hand or shuffle it into the deck. And you can only use each effect of Strength and Unity once per turn. And yeah, guys, so it is good. The fact that it's not that you can use both effects on once per turn and including in the same turn is really good. So I will give Konami props for that. But yeah, if we're looking from the perspective of a Dark Magician deck, this card is somewhat decent. I wouldn't say it's terrible by any means, because in a Dark Magician deck, if you summon something like Dark Magician the Dragon Knight or something like the new one called the Dark Magicians, this potentially could help you get more disruptions on your opponent's turn without cards like Circle. And I wouldn't say that's bad. So that potentially gives you 2 ways to be able to banish 2 cards on your opponent's field, which is really good. I wouldn't say that's bad, but it's not the most powerful thing in the world. But the fact that that also cripples something in your opponent's graveyard is also really sweet, because in today's meta, that could actually be really good. Like against Eldritch, you can banish something like the Golden Lord, and that could cripple their strategy if they don't have other ways to get their other copies in the grave. Or something like an Emancipator, you can potentially banish something like Block Dragon from their grave before they can get out on the field to extend their place. It's also really good. But against other decks, I guess it could be decent. Like maybe against Salamangreat, you can banish some like Gazelle or Spinning or whatever, and that could also cripple them that way, because obviously Salamangreat relies a lot on the grave. And maybe against zombies, you can banish something like Belerdrock, and that could potentially cripple their place that way as well, so that they can't summon it during your standby phase. So I guess that's fine. But I wouldn't say this is really powerful, especially considering that in Dark Magician you're not really focused too much on doing any fusion plays uh, on your first turn. In some cases, there are some builds that I've seen that do kind of focus on doing fusion summoning, but more or less from the competitive um, builds that I've seen, they're not super focused on doing any kind of really big fusion plays during their turn, like getting something. Unless you're playing like a Dark Magician Dragon Knight Turbo, or trying to get out something like Red Eye Dark Dragoon on your first turn or something, then this card won't really do that much in terms of advancing your plays. And I guess in Chaos Max, this could be decent. It does give them more options for removal that way, because one of the big things that something like a Chaos Max deck lacks is their removal aspect, because they're more focused on doing OTKs and having ensure that your opponent has something in defense, so you can OTK with cards like Chaos Max Dragon. But other than that, this card doesn't really do a whole lot. And just like the others, the fact that this targets something on their field or in their grave in order for it to pop off well, and the fact that you need to control, and the fact that you need to be able to summon with Blue Eyes or Dark Magician for this to pop off, just doesn't make it that much worth it, unless you open up with the starters that you need in order to like fusion or ritual with Blue Eyes or Dark Magician. This card does not make it all worth the price. And the fact that this card also can help recycle something like Dark Magician and Blue Eyes back into your deck or to your hand is not bad either. But that effect doesn't seem as recursive as what most people would think on the surface, because you don't really have much of a reason to really reoccur what you already have in your grave or back to your hand or going back to the deck, because more or less in any Dark Magician or Blue Eyes build, a majority of the time you would already want them to be in your grave and not so much in your hand when they remove something like for example Eternal Soul. If they remove it that way and you have Dark Magician in your hand, it's just going to be a brick and it's not going to do a whole lot, especially in Blue Eyes deck as well, where if you're going to be using this to add Blue Eyes back to your hand, that could kind of synergize well with cards like Trade-In to help give you more fodder that way, more draw power to ensure it can pop off. But more of the time you would really just want Dark Magician or Blue Eyes in your grave in order to pop off that way, so that you can summon like Dark Magician from your grave easily, or like extend it with something like Monster Reborn or anything else in general. So I don't see the second effect coming up as much as what Konami is expecting it to, but it is decent for what it's worth. But overall, guys, those are just my thoughts. I'm not hating on these cards entirely. Like, the fact that I still play these decks and update them from time to time, it's okay. The only one that I can really see myself playing would probably be Destined Rivals and Successor Soul. But Strength and Unity, I don't really see myself playing this as much. Maybe I might someday, that might change, but as it stands right now, I wouldn't say these are the worst cards, but I wouldn't say they're the best either. I'm just kind of split in the middle right now with all these promos, and I know that a lot of people at this time are really hating on all the support that Blue Eyes and Dark Magician has gone throughout the years. I know they are getting really tired of seeing retrains and support for them, even though it doesn't advance their strategy all that much in the meta. So I'm kind of okay with this. I'm not loving it, I'm not obsessing over it, and I do see myself kind of playing some of these cards soon, but I'm not sure how I'd want to incorporate and what I would want to cut out in order to play these cards, except Strength and Unity, because this is okay, but I don't really feel like this is going to be too strong for something like my Dark Magician. But those are just my thoughts, guys. And that's all I got for you guys to discuss regarding the world premiere cards that were just announced in the 2020 Tin of Lost Memories. So if you guys did enjoy it, definitely give this video a thumbs up and thumbs down if you didn't, and definitely share it again with your friends. It really does help out support the channel. And let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Do you guys like it? Do you hate it? Do you think they should have done something like they did last year with releasing meta define cards, or do you think that these are fine and you might play with these? I would love to hear your thoughts and get a discussion going in the comments below, especially for this one. And if you guys do enjoy my content and do want to see more videos like this or anything else in general, definitely give this video definitely subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you guys don't miss out anytime I upload videos. And that is it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Center 45 signing off.